Steve Eckert, United States Marine, entrepreneur, and instructor of the project. Welcome to another episode of the MDK Wives Show. This is where I interview the wives of previous project graduates. If you don't know about the project, it's a 75-hour personal development program for men looking to level up in business and life so they can become even better husbands, fathers, leaders, and men. Today, I will have a very special guest. I want to welcome Wendy Fisher. Thanks for joining me on the show today on the MDK Wives. How's everything going?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
That's awesome. Appreciate you coming on to the show. Her husband, David Fisher, graduated about 6 months ago of class 006. So we're going to take a deep dive into that. We're going to have a good old time talking a whole bunch of crap about him, and he can't do anything about it. So let's just jump right into it, Wendy. So how did you first hear about the project?
He was doing a little bit of his own self-development, probably year and a half, 2 years ago. And he was looking into a franchise with Fit Body Boot Camp. And obviously he discovered Bedros and was digging a little deeper and realized that he had this other project, the Modern Day Night Project. And he was immediately intrigued. So since, I don't know how long the project's been around, but since whenever he discovered it, he has been talking about it, meaning Dave. It was always like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And so at one point I was like, if you're going to do this, we need to do this because you've been talking about it long enough. And the funny thing with him is he was looking into the class after him. So 007. And I feel like that might've been January, February timeframe. Mm-hmm. And so and at that same time, we were finally launching our franchise. And so we're in the build out phase, November, December, January, we're opening. So he's like, I'll try and go in like February. I'm like, are you nuts? Like, we're launching a business. Like, I don't know how this is going to work. So somehow he went online, filled out a form or a questionnaire, and like immediately got a call from instructor Ray. And it turned into this thing. And the next thing I know, my husband is asking me if he can go to 006. And that starts in 3 weeks. And I was like, wow. Okay. So I was like, well, I guess if you're going to do it, we're not quite open yet. Now's the time to do it. But I'm excited that he did it when he did it, because he has been, and we'll talk about this later, but that is what actually catapulted a lot of I believe, our initial success in our business when we opened in January. So timing is everything.
Yeah. So first off, a couple of things there. So first, how old is Dave?
Dave, at the time he was doing the project, was 51.
So he's 51 years old, and on 3 weeks' notice, I mean, he was talking about it for a while before that, but until you make that commitment, all that doesn't matter. You're not really preparing for it. So exactly. 3 weeks' notice, he decides his crazy ass is going to come and fly out here and do the project. At the same time that you're opening up a fitness franchise during lockdowns and coronaviruses and all this other crap. That is a lot all going on at once. What were your thoughts on this about, going on at the same time? And first off, open up. I mean, I congratulate you on the fitness business during this time. That takes some guts. So that's freaking awesome to hear.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about, doing all this at the same time, especially this time and these times that we're in these days?
So, I had a lot of thoughts, but, we were also remote learning with our children. We have a 12-year-old and almost 9-year-old. So there was a lot going on at home with them, social, emotionally. They weren't in school. They weren't seeing their friends. So that was on me. Opening the business and making sure we were moving forward, that was on me. Just so many life events that happen, all right in that same time. And he's like, hey, I got to step out for a minute. And I was like, what? But honestly, because he had been talking about it for so long, I knew that if it was like a sign, this was the time to do it. And if he didn't do it, like right when instructor Ray called and was like, hey, we can fit you in, I knew if he didn't do it, it would be postponed. Like it would be like, it might not happen. Mm-hmm. Because now we're opening the business, and he would come up with an excuse, or I would come up with the excuse for him. But I think because it was only 3 weeks, neither one of us had a lot of time to process that. It was like, just get him on the plane. See you later. and that was it. And I'm so glad that he did it.
That's awesome. So when he was 3 weeks away, did he already sign up and then told you that he signed up, or how did that go? Did you talk about it first and then he signed up? How did that play out?
So, he had been talking to me about the project for a while and, showing me the sizzle reels, as he likes to say, and or maybe that's a term he learned from you guys. I don't know, but he was showing me a bunch of the videos and some of the content around it. Mm-hmm. And knowing my husband, I knew that this was a fit for him physically. I knew that he could. I knew that he could do the 75 hours. It was the mental piece that I was like, if he gets out of this, what I hope he's going to get out of it, based on what I'm watching and what I'm reading and what he's sharing with me, then this is going to be a win. So yeah. Wait, what was the first part of your question?
Well, no, let's just ride that. Let's just dig deeper into that since we're on it. What were the things you were hoping he would get out of it? What were the areas that you, in your head, whether you communicated it to him or not, you're like, yeah, you need this, and this. What are those things that you were hoping he would get out of it personally?
Yeah, so personally, for Dave, I've, we've been married for, 14 years, a long time. And for me, I always saw him tie his self-worth to like a paycheck. Like, I'm not making enough money. I'm not doing right by the family. And so he was just tying his self-worth into that when that shouldn't have been the case. Cause I'm working, like, we're a team. We really are a team. And so I would see him do that. I would see him, go for a goal, hit that ceiling, but not, or the wall, if you will, and not be able to bust through that wall. Like, he really wanted to climb over the wall, but like, I knew that he was going to have to bust through it. So my personal self-development journey, it started prior to him. So I could already see how it would benefit him to go versus like not doing it. So I really wanted him to learn how to bust through the wall and mentally know that like it's worth it. What's on the other side is worth it. You got to work really freaking hard for it, right? And not take the easy way and just say, well, I'm not going to do that right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So just, his growing up, like, he had to move a million times as a kid, didn't necessarily have the most stable family life, didn't necessarily have, the best father figure in his life. And, my family, he was just like, wow, because we live near my family, we're pretty tight. And he just was like, wow, like, your family is just, they're tight. We're not perfect by any means, but in comparison to what, what he grew up with, he never felt like, I don't know if valued is the right word, but he never felt any stability. I just wanted him to know that he fits in. He needed to just find his people, whoever those people are, aside from me, like whoever is going to give him that stability and that core of, that just, I don't know, his community. That's what he needed to find. And I could see that, watching all of the videos and reading that about the project. And so I just knew that this would just be a starting point for him. Right. So, yeah.
So he was looking for his people, and he's a Marine as well, right?
Yes,
and even after that, still, I think, because you're a Marine as a young kid, kind of, right? You're just easily moldable. You just go along with whatever you're told where to be, what time. Now in the real world, it's a real game. It's not just, you're not just playing soldier anymore. It's like you have a family, career, kids,
right,
responsibilities. So it's hard to find your people in that setting. So it sounds like that was part of his journey, which you realized that he needed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and the other piece of it, which was big too, is emotional piece, right? So like, for him, his emotions can be very up and down, especially, and that's human nature in all of us. But now when you're parenting kids, we're just trying to do right by our kids, right? So we're trying to control our emotions and not be, doing this and leveling up in the wrong way when it comes to communication. So for him, especially raising two boys, right? I think it's like, there's this certain, like, I don't know, thing that men have when they're raising boys that, you got to be tough on them. You got to be, I don't know if unforgiving is the right word, but it's different than me raising the boys, right?
Definitely.
So, yeah. So for him, or for me, what I observed with him is just like, if we could just level out sort of the emotions in the house. I didn't know what that looked like at the time, but fast forward, him coming home from the project, I can see, and I'm not going to get the terminology right, but you want to stay in the green zone. And he works really, really hard at that. So to be a better dad for the boys.
That's so freaking awesome that you even know the terms and the colors. And if you could see it, I have on my chalkboard right here. I can't turn the computer, but it literally says in chalk, stay in the green. And I look at that all day. And the way you're moving your hand, that's exactly one of the evolutions that we do is all about that emotional discipline. So that's awesome that he's even spreading it out to his team. Like my kids know the same thing, the red, the blue, and they know when I'm getting pissed off, they'll be like, Daddy, you're getting in the red, and they'll just put me in my place. And it's like,
yeah, they call it, and isn't that wonderful? Like, we're leading by example, and him going through this, Dave going through this, makes me go through it at some level, right? So like, he can look at me and be like, like, I can see where you're going with this, don't do it. And vice versa, him telling me what it was like while he was at the project and in the after, I can be like, no, that's not going to work. You're getting, I don't say red. I say other things like stop being a jerk or whatever. But like, but yeah, that piece has been huge. That piece has been huge.
Yeah.
So at the end of it, I can't imagine him not doing it. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I like your way of saying it better. Forget about saying the red. Stop being an ass. I like that better.
Yeah.
More politically correct way of doing it. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. So let's talk about when he first shows back up home. Like, this is only 75 hours. People say, how much can someone possibly change in 75 hours? First, there is a period before where that you made that commitment. You start thinking a little differently before you get there. But during that 75 hours, and I've seen it time and time again, we just had a class graduate this Friday, and literally men are being reborn. They are completely transforming in 3 days. It's freaking amazing. So he shows back up at home. What is the first things that you immediately notice when he shows back home, like day one, minute one? How was that experience?
Well, I'll back that up. So after he was done his 75 hours, he went back to the hotel or wherever he was staying, and he was finally able to call. Like, we weren't able to talk to him, obviously, for 75 hours. So that was an adjustment for the kids. But he called, and I could just tell in the tone of his voice, obviously he was exhausted, but just the tone of his voice of like, I just made it through that. And I didn't know, like, obviously I was kind of Facebook stalking you guys or Instagram stalking, like, because I just needed to know that he was moving forward. And it's not that I ever thought that he couldn't do it. It was more like, I just had to know, it was probably my own anxiety, but like, so I just knew just by his tone of voice when he made that initial call that something had changed. But he was too tired in a positive way. So he was tired. And then eventually he gets home, and he looked like hell, first of all. He was pretty beat up. And, he was just like proud, like he was proud of himself for finishing. Yeah. And getting through it. But most importantly is he recognized right away that was just the start of this journey, like his new journey. So to your point, like being reborn, I guess, is a good way to say it. Like, he definitely was just like, this is just the beginning, and I need to stick to this. Like, because it's all great. Like, you're coming home, you're feeling pumped, you're exhausted but pumped. Like, you're ready to conquer the world. And then, Monday comes. So what are you going to do on Monday? So for him, One of the first things that he did right away was make this shadow box of just, it's basically trinkets from his day. He's got his axe in there. He's got, his t-shirt in there, one of his t-shirts, which is not washed. And the one that I like the most is the $20 bill. And you could probably explain the $20 bill, component more than I can. But, when he told me about it, I was like, oh, that's like your cab money if you didn't want to do it. And he's like, yeah, pretty much. And I was like, well, shit, that needs to go in there. It's all muddy and gross. And like, I was like, that is like really powerful. Like there's no cab for you. Like you could just gotta do it. Like just do it. So this sits in our office. I'm in my office and we as a family look at it every day. I mean, we're not like coming in and like, hey, there's but it's a reminder, especially for him. Like it's just a constant reminder that he needs to do the work.
That's freaking awesome. That's what we say. You get through the project in 75 hours. That's just the price of admission. That's just the starting point. Then you have to re-earn that title of being a modern day knight literally every single day for the rest of your life. But yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah, the $20 bill is obviously no one really gets a cab anymore where they Uber from their phone, but it's symbolic of if you still have your $20 means you didn't quit, you didn't need to be, to get a ride home. So it's really more symbolism. So that's awesome that you can put that in there. I never would have thought to put that. I didn't even see that until you say it. Now that I see it on there, that is so cool.
I'll show you. Hold on. See if I can get closer without anybody getting dizzy. Oh, can you see it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
That might be weird. All right. But anyway, you get the gist. It's all in there. It was one of the first things he did when he got home. And so we're excited about that.
So I think that's so cool that on the phone, literally, he just finished minutes ago, and that's freaking amazing. And you said it gave me chills, and I'm not the mushy kind of guy, but it gave me chills when you said you could just hear in his voice that something was different, something changed. That's freaking amazing. And
yeah, I don't want to say that he was crying because he'll get pissed at me if I said he was crying.
Don't ever kill his reputation like that. Don't ever say that.
Right. So I'm going to say he was misty. I think he was misty.
He had probably a little dirt caught in his eyes from the training. That's all it is.
Probably.
That's what I tell the guys when we first secure them and they're standing in line and we ring the bell, meaning it's the secured class and they all graduated. That's something I tell them is that if you see my eyes a little watery, it's just because my contact lens is a little dry. I haven't slept in 75 hours. That's all it is. I don't want to kill my own reputation. But that's freaking awesome. All right. So you saw an immediate change when he came home, even on the phone before he came home. But let's talk about now 6 months later, because as you mentioned, like people go to these workshops, these motivational things, they're jump up and down and they high five people and they give hugs and they scream like and roar like a lion at some of these workshops and stuff. And Monday they're full of fire and Tuesday they're back to their lame, mediocre lives and nothing changed. So let's talk about now 6 months down the line. He was there in November. We're now in April. So how are things now 6 months later? Is that fire still there? Is that change still there? How are things going now and what's happened in those 6 months?
Yeah. So in the 6 months, we launched a business and, he brings that sort of energy and fire that we need into the business as a leader. I think one of his big takeaways from the project was that he was struggling with his leadership and he had to face it during his 75 hours. And so as a result of that, he was able to take tools that he learned in the project and sort of implement them in our business. And I think that has been huge. And that is like one of the things that has been consistent. He has maintained, this sort of green zone. It's not very often he gets flustered. He doesn't shut down like emotionally, I guess, meaning, sometimes we could be having an argument about something and all of a sudden he's like, well, I don't care. And that's not the case now. It's like, because that was his easy way of not dealing, right? And I'm a little opposite from that. So I'm like, no, we're going to deal with this. But it was difficult to have those conversations with him where now I feel like he's more receptive to the feedback I'm giving him as, as a parent, as a business owner. Like we are definitely partners in every aspect of our life, between running the business, parenting and being husband and wife. Like So it's been nice in that, that line of communication is there, that I wouldn't say it wasn't necessarily not there, but it's better. It's better. So he does work hard at that. He, like I said, he's really found a great community of guys. And, you know, every once in a while I'll hear someone's voice and I'll be like, what are you listening to? And he's like, oh, you know, so-and-so, or, you know, in the, I don't know, you guys have a Facebook group or whatever. And it's like this accountability group, right? So every once in a while, it sounds like you guys check in, and I am not involved with a Facebook group. I'm not like going in there, but every once in a while I'll hear it. And so to me, it's nice because I really feel like he's found a community of people that are going to hold him accountable in whatever ways that you guys do that. You know, he went back out to, was it Vegas to meet up with you guys? Like, you know, and he was so excited to just like genuinely excited. So he's just, you know, when you move around a lot as a kid, you don't get to maintain relationships, or it's hard, or, you know, whatever. So he's never really had that, you know, those old friendships, you know, and I feel like when he talks about you guys, it's like, you guys did so much in like 75 hours in that bonding, and that bond has continued and continues to grow. And he's found some footing there. So some stability. And I think that helps. Right. So, so that's been awesome. He, what else? He allows me, like I said, to hold his feet to the fire, because now that I know what I know, you know, I can be like, hey, I don't know, would instructor Steve talk to you? You know, what would he say? You know, and I just kind of walk away. I don't know. He can deal with that in his own head, but like, you know, it's nice. It's nice. He's definitely changed. He's definitely caused, what I've been talking about lately to our employees and our staff is like this ripple effect, right? So like he got plunked in the middle of the project, and the ripple effect is still happening in a positive way. So
that's freaking awesome. Even 6 months later, even, it sounds like. How long have you been open?
I don't see it stopping.
It's just going to keep. It's going to keep multiplying. Is what it's going to keep doing. That's awesome. How long have you been open now? How long has the business been open?
We opened January 18th, so we've only been open like 3-4 months. 3 months.
And where are you located?
We're in Amherst, New Hampshire.
Okay, so that takes some guts right there, just to open a fitness business in this kind of crazy environment. Let me ask you, opening up in the middle of lockdowns and quarantines and all this crazy, you never know what's going to happen. You can get shut down again, and government restrictions, all that. Members are afraid to come back in and be around other humans because humans are scary nowadays. How would you see the opening going had Dave not gone through the project? How would you see the business starting and kicking off? Any difference that you would think the business, the direction, the trajectory of the business would have been if you didn't come to the project?
So I think there would be more hesitation in decision making, meaning, well, I'll hold on to this and we'll wait and see. We don't have that luxury of waiting and seeing, so we just keep moving forward. So his attitude is like, keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other. We'll deal with it as it comes. We already had to shut down once because of COVID, and that is because Dave and I got the COVID. You know, so we had to maneuver, you know, our members through that experience, and without, you know, Dave version 1.0 or whatever would have just said, I don't care. Like, we'll see in 2 weeks or whatever it would be. But he was really just more engaged and more, he's very much like, let's just figure it out. Like, there's no, like, if I say, oh, we can't do that, he's like, we can, we just have to figure it out. So
that's awesome. That's actually something we talk about a lot in the project is we say FIO. That's sometimes the answer. FIO, figure it out. Don't come to me for the answer.
Yeah, that's totally, that's like his motto every day, I guess, which is awesome. Great. Yeah.
And now the business is obviously, we're still rolling, still running, still growing. How is the business going right now?
It's going amazing. Like we're growing, and we're growing members, and people are really picking up on the vibe of the place, the community that we're trying to build. We really talk a lot about mindset with our members. It's not just coming in and, hitting the mats for 30 minutes or whatever. It's really about mindset. So we talk a lot about that. So it's been nice that he's had this experience, and he's been working so hard on himself. He does so much reading. He's always listening to something. So it's just nice to see this side of him now. Like, he's just working really hard to bring, the best version of himself, I guess, to the business and to our family. So
that's freaking awesome. I actually just interviewed right before this another one of the MDK wives there, and they're also Fit Body owners here in California, who in California, the restrictions and shutdowns have been horrible. And she literally said that, they're still thriving. And she literally said if he had not gone to the project, that they would have closed their doors months ago. They were a new business, or only open about 18 months when all the shutdowns happened. And she literally said if he didn't join the project, they would have shut the business down and closed their doors, and would have been just horrible. So
I totally agree with that. Yep. I can see how they've persevered. I can see it.
That's awesome. So huge impact. And so now seeing, 6 months later, and it's still getting better and better. He's still growing and developing. He doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Where do you see both your relationship with him, on a personal side, your family, and then also the business, as things, down the line in the future, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, as the ripple effect, as you said, from the project continues to just increase and, become a force multiplier? Where do you see the future of your family and business down the line?
So from a business perspective, when you cause that ripple effect in someone where you can get them to look at themselves differently, or try something differently, or move them to something that they haven't, even physically had to do. Like, we're dealing with clients that might not even have been able to do a push-up, right? And now all of a sudden you've got them to that point. So the ripple effect there of just like not giving up on someone and really kind of being hard but loving at the same time, is great. And I think a lot of those tools that he got from his experience at the project definitely come into play in helping our business. And then as far as family goes, again, for us, it was always, I just felt like volatile is not the right word, but it was very up and down. Like, we could, again, and I'm equally at fault of this as well. It's just like, when you're tired and you're raising kids, and all of a sudden you're just like, you just get angry, whatever. Why aren't you listening? Why aren't you doing this? So it's really a gut check every time I go to, for me and for him, it's like this gut check of like, I would not talk to anyone else this way. Why would I talk to my kids this way? I would never bring up these emotions in, any other setting. Why would I do it to my kids? So I think that there is a lot of, that at play, which is we have, I'm dealing with a tween, right? So he's going to have a lot of emotions going on. And then we have an almost 9-year-old who has some social emotional issues going on, and he keeps us in check. So I think that piece of it has gotten better, because if our son can see us communicating to each other, right, and changing that dynamic and how we talk to him, eventually it's going to be okay, right? It's not perfect, but every day we work on that. We work on our family, and we do that as a team. And then as far as Dave and I, he is very big into, like, he came out of this and he's like, we need to make a date night. Like, every week we need to, whatever, and connect and have a date. And believe me, I believe that, but for me, I'm like, oh my God, we have 8 million things going on. I'm the one that's coming up with the excuses, and he's trying to hold my feet to the fire, saying, well, if we can't commit to one night, we need to commit every day to connect, whether that's 5 minutes or, an hour. Maybe we're watching a TV show, maybe we're having dinner together, we can sit down, so we put in that effort. Mm-hmm. And that's because of him, because honestly, as a mom that's doing 8 million things, again, all excuses, it's like, I'll push him off to the side because I got 2 other humans in the house I need to deal with. So it's been great. Yeah. And then, I see more belief in himself, just knowing that he can do it. And it's not ever that he really thought that he couldn't do it. It's honestly some of those blocks that he would come up as just pushing through. So in the end, that helps everything, whether it's our business, our family, our marriage. So he just knows that he can do it.
That's awesome. So he's got just a confidence he always had, but now almost a newer, higher level of confidence. Now going through what he went through in the project, realizing, all right, this regular stuff in the real world is now easy stuff compared to the crap they made me do over there. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's the mental game, right? It's how you talk to yourself, how you talk to others, that internal dialogue that you have. It's all changing, and he will say out loud now, like, I'm dealing with my inner bitch right now. And I'm like, well, go fix it. Like, I don't know, whatever was going on at the time. Like, if you need to go deal with that, go deal with that. Right. So, but it's nice that he recognizes those voices in his head, where before I think he was just like, I don't care, whatever. But now he's
given into it. He's given to the inner bitch, and now he's, assassinating it temporarily until it pops up again. It's always going to pop up again, but he's having the awareness of it. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Some good stuff. So to close things out, what would you say to someone that's in your position that, they know that this is probably something that their husband needs, the way that you kind of saw it, and you knew the exact specific areas that you hoped it would help and he would achieve out of it. But at the same time, they have kids, they have responsibilities. It's considered an expensive program, a higher end program. You have a business and all this stuff going on. What would you say to that woman out there who is going through exactly what you were, all those things jumbled together at the same time, and is really hesitating, being on board with their husband doing this? So what would you say to someone in that situation?
So I think for me, it was never not me being supportive. I was always supportive of the idea. For me, it definitely came down to finances, right? So like, we're opening a business, we don't even have cash flow. At that point, it was like, we didn't really have any. So I had to personally flip the script in my head, that not look at it like an expense, but an investment. So he is deciding to invest in himself, which ultimately is investing in the family. Like, I guess any wife or spouse could be like, all right, this is 75 hours of you going on, like some boy trip or whatever. And, whatever, you're doing like a Tough Mudder or something like that. That's what you're doing. And it's not. But I would encourage them to just think about it differently, and how that ultimately is going to impact their family, the family, the marriage, all of it. And then I would also say that if the wife is struggling in different areas of her life, like, this helps them. So if your spouse comes back and is like, hey, these are, I don't know, I don't have a good example, but if these are some areas that you're struggling in, like for me, it was about making time for myself or whatever, and not feeling guilty about that. Or, we all have heavy shit to deal with. But like, allow when your partner comes back to receive that coaching, I guess, and not take it like they're attacking you and that they're better than you. Mm-hmm. It's just, they just went through 75 hours of, breaking down and, being reborn, right? So they have a lot of, knowledge, I guess, that they just want to share with you. And it's not an attack against your parenting style or you as a person. We all want to come out and just be better people. So, if your spouse comes to you and says, hey, it's this much money, it's an investment. And again, the ripple effect is, I'm not a finance person, but that's, compounding interest down the road. So it's totally worth it. And it's not easy to make those sacrifices as a mom of, whatever you have going on. I recognize that it's not easy, but you just figure it out. It's 75 hours there and back. you figure it out. And in the end of it, on the other side of it is a better version of your spouse.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And let's going to add this in on, since it was finances was one of the bigger things that was kind of in your head, like how are we going to make this work? 6 months later now, how do you see it? Let's just talk strictly financial. Obviously, you've had the personal and the personal benefits from it that have helped your family and all that. Let's talk just strictly financially, costing what it costs. It's a $12,000 investment. 6 months down the line, how has that been on an actual just dollar for dollar financial investment? Do you think it's paid itself back more? How do you see that as an actual financial investment, just finances alone?
So financially, I will say, so Dave, we own the gym, but he is also in the mortgage world, the finance world. And he has had some of his best months since he's 100% commission in his job. And he has had the best months, since he's been back, like since December until now. He's had some really, really incredible months financially. And I think that's because he just realized that, it's not the whole work harder thing. It's just, I'm not going to spend time with people that are just not willing to make the investment in the process that we're going through. So, and that means it translates into dollars. If someone is, he'll be like, all right, call me when you're ready, versus he used to spend time trying to get these people to come on board for whatever, whatever it was. And now he's just like, I don't, it's not that he doesn't have time, but he recognizes how valuable his time is. And that's a win. So freeing up those minutes or those hours in a day when you're dealing with someone that's maybe not all that invested, it translated into dollars for us. So now he was spending time with people that were committed. So I think that that's pretty awesome. So, we're still in the red for our gym, which is okay. We just opened, but we're cranking right along. Things are moving and growing, and so we're excited about that. And yeah, I just feel like he's not tying his, I mentioned earlier, he would tie his self-worth into what his paycheck is. Mm-hmm. It's not about that anymore. Like, he sort of turned that inner dialogue with how am I helping people today? That's how he approaches everything. Like, who am I going to help today? Who's ready to be helped? And so if you can get that going in your brain, then the money flows. It just will. It's not going to happen overnight. But I don't know. It's working. Whatever happened over there in California, it's working.
I like that. Whatever happened over there is working. That's what we wanted to hear. Perfect. All right. So Wendy, I want to thank you again for joining us on this episode of the MDKY show. And you and David are part of the project family. If you ever need anything, just reach out anytime. You have an army of hungry, successful, motivated, civilized savages all over the country and all over the world as a support system for you and for him. So if you ever need anything, just let me know. We are here for you. Thanks again for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
If out there, viewers, if anything in this show, that yourself, your spouse is something in here that they need to hear, just share this video, put a like and a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you need anything, let's talk about it. Let's jump on the phone and see if your spouse will be a good fit for the MDK project. That is a project. And I will talk to you later, Wendy. Thanks again. You are freaking awesome. I will talk to you soon.
How are you? All right.
No excuses. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.